I just love doing that. Good evening. Welcome to the first of two meetings two BOT meetings we will hold this evening in Building D&E on today, January 14th, 2021. The first meeting will be a meeting to discuss issues involving our beach restoration project, and the second issue it'll be a regular workshop of the board. The second meeting will be a town hall meeting to discuss the 2021 budget and the 2022 budget and the issues that have come up that could change some of the things we do in 2022, 2021, and 2021, 22, and even with our 5-year plan. So we will hold two separate meetings, just so people understand. The first will be a meeting, a special meeting of the board, a workshop, and the second will be a town hall. Before we start, we will stand and have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Morrissey, would you please lead us? Thank you. Mr. Gruno, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Loveland, here. Mr. Bruno, here. Mr. Morrissey, here. Mr. Nugent, here. Chairman MAINO.
Yes, here.
We also have our community manager, John COFFEY, our physical services manager, Matt Getz, our clerk, Stephanie Brown, and our counsel, Cliff Reppenger. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Again, the only issue we have tonight is to discuss the beach restroom project, and the reason we're holding the meeting, we're going to give you a little brief overview, and if it's all right with the board, what we're going to do is give a brief overview of what the situation is, and then we're going to ask for audience participation, and then we will hold the board meeting and have discussion and come to conclusions as to what we want to do. So we're going to give a brief introduction and I will start by simply saying that we've heard a lot about the beach restroom project in the last year or two. We know it's important to a lot of people. We finally put it on our plan and in our budget, and we bought the building and we did some things, and all of a sudden we've now found out that in order to complete the project, it is going to cost us quite a bit more money. And that's why we're here tonight, to discuss the options that are involved in that. Is it worth it? Is it worth the amount of money we would spend? Is there something else we could do with the building? In the general terms, that's it. Mr. COFFEY, add to that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, trustees.
You're not on either, I don't think.
I am. You're still on. Hello. All right. Mr. Chairman, trustees, residents gathered here and watching at home. As Chairman MAINO stated, this project was conceptualized back in 2015, and it found its way into a budget a couple times and got pulled out. We have procured a prefabbed concrete building and have paid for it, and a site plan has been completed. The issue revolves around there's three main regulatory agencies involved in this project. FEMA with their flood map, the state with the Department of Environmental Protection with the coastal construction line, and Brevard County with their building code. In 2018, Brevard County changed their building code, which will require anywhere on the site we would locate this building, 40-foot pilings to be driven into the ground for the concrete building to be sat upon. That cost estimate is about $80,000 to $100,000, and that's outside the working budget of this project. There's several different options. The first one is to apply for a variance from Brevard County, trying to get around the piling requirement. Another one is proceed with the project as designed, absorbing the cost of the pilings. Other options revolve around putting the restroom at the beach and putting it in different locations, or trying to negotiate with the builder to buy back the building or take possession of the building and auction it off. There's different options of locating it elsewhere, although locating it within this side of the intercoastal lagoon requires water and sewer connections, which then adds to the cost. At the beach, it would be hooked up to our well over there and a septic system put in, so there's not sewer connection cost over there. And is that a sufficient introduction, Mr. Chairman? Okay.
Yes, yes. Here we go. Yes, it is. With that, we're going to go to audience participation, and I'm going to remind everyone again, we read this at the last meeting, and we're going to read it again tonight to make sure everyone understands how we are going to execute our meetings and our regular meetings and special meetings of the BOT. Are we on? Can you hear me? You can? Yeah. Okay. Again, I'll read this really quickly, and so as we get into more and more meetings, we'll understand the way we proceed. The purpose of holding a Board of Trustees meeting is to execute or carry out official business of the Barefoot Bay Recreation District. Board of Trustee meetings are meetings that are held in public, however, other than for audience participation. At the beginning of the meeting, they are not meetings of the BOT with the public. The BOT recognizes the value of public comment on community issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on those issues. However, it should be understood that public comment during audience participation is not a time to have a public discussion with staff or the BOT. Board members will not answer questions or discuss issues with participants during audience participation. The only exception to this is during a town hall, which we will hold after this meeting, when the audience can have a dialogue with the board. Audience participation at regular meetings is simply a time when residents can offer comments about an upcoming agenda item, such as we have tonight, before that item is voted on or a decision is made by the BOT. Again, public comment shall be permitted as indicated on the agenda. Once audience participation ends, public comments then close. I'm just jumping through here. Anyone wishing to make public comment, they should please identify themselves with their name and address. And public comment should always be directed to the BOT chairman and not to trustees, staff, or community members. All of this, by the way, is in the board, the BOT guidelines and the BOT rules, and included in charter. So with that, you've had a brief overview of what the situation is. It is going to cost us, to continue with the program, will cost us at least $80,000 more, and probably more than that. So this is now open to audience participation. Anyone interested? Oh, we have a letter. First of all, we'll go with the letter first.
Letter from Rich Schwatlow, 636 Marlin Circle. Many people in the Bay want a new bathroom at the beach, but the final cost is hard to figure out. I'd like to ask, what was the cost of the bathroom that the board voted on at the BOT meeting? First, conception. Second, what has the cost risen to with the additional cost of an employee, a vehicle, with the additional cost related to that, like fuel, maintenance, employer insurance, Social Security, etc. There were also additional permits, engineering surveys, and building pylons. Thirdly, what are the projected final costs? And lastly, what is the yearly projected cost of maintaining the bathrooms, knowing the continuous cost of an employee, vehicle, supplies, and maintenance costs? Richard Schwatlow.
Thank you. Any other letters? No one has given us their phone number to call them. No. Audience participation, please. This is your time to get up and give any input you wish on the issue before the board discusses and makes a decision. Yes, please go up to the podium. Make sure you hit the green button. Give your name and your address, please. Yes, that's fine.
My name is Kevin Hunter. I live at 373 Marlin Circle here in the Bay. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity. It's the first time I've spoken to the trustees. I want to congratulate those who were recently elected, and I want to thank each and every one of you for serving on this board. I know that it takes a lot of time, from other interests you have, and I just want to first of all say I appreciate the time you put in, your willingness to make Barefoot Bay even better. With that, I thought I should introduce myself a little more than saying I just live on Marlin Circle. Like you, Mike, I retired from education in 2000, from an educational career in 2014. I was a teacher, a counselor, an administrator. And when I wasn't doing that, I was farming, I was building swimming pools, I was selling real estate. And when my hip cooperates with me, I still enjoy caddying on golf courses, both professionally and on private clubs. And like Randy, I'm originally from Indiana. Grew up on a farm in the southwest corner of the state. My wife is a retired librarian. She found Barefoot Bay when we were down Martin County, house setting for a friend, and we actually decided we were going to relocate to Florida. And she found Barefoot Bay on forums, which indicated there's a positive place with a lot of activities and a lot of friendly people. And she wanted me to ride up here with her, and so we took a drive, and the first time we tried to get up here, we didn't quite make it. I had to turn around because the guy was going to take me trolling for snook. So we turned around and went back, and she stayed on me. And we came back again. We visited the beach property. We drove through the community, and it probably took me all of about half an hour to say this feels right. People walking around, walking their dogs, riding their bikes, riding in golf carts, talking to their neighbors. It's like, this feels like a community I want to be a part of. That was 6 years ago. That same day, within 45 minutes after going into a real estate office, and I'm not spur of the moment, we bought a house that day. And that was 6 years ago in March. I brought my brother down here in 2017. 2 years later, he's older than I am. 2 years later, he's a resident and owns a home here in Barefoot Bay as well. So we love Barefoot Bay. But the beach is probably the most valuable asset in our minds. You know, you've got over 2 acres there of private beach access. It's got the parking, it's got the handicap ramp, the pavilion, and now the possibility that we've been talking about since I relocated here at Barefoot Bay of an upgraded restroom. And I just think any investment in that beach property is a wise investment. It has set apart for a lot of people that I have met on the beach, whether they're fishing or whether they're just enjoying the beach and walking. It has set apart an amenity that actually brought them here. And what other residential community has private beach access unless that community is actually on the beach? You know, who can say, what other residents and community like ours can say we have access to a private beach? So I take great pride in our beach, and I know as investments are made there that I'm going to take even more pride. But it does motivate home buyers to have that property. And I would say a nice restroom would motivate those home buyers even more. And I'm not sure you can put a price tag on that. The other thing I feel like our beach does, it builds friendships and strengthens our community. You know, being a part of a community, it's important. And as I told you, you know, going to that property is one of the things that brought my wife and I here. But being able to build the friendships there, and that's what unites us as a community. It also promotes good health. You can't get on that sand and walk around on that sand without, you know, doing some exercise along the way and strengthening yourself. Whether you're fishing, you're doing water sports, or you're just walking. And the fresh air. it's a safe place to be. You know, during COVID, especially with the social distancing, it's someplace I feel like I've been able to go and still be safe. And that applies all the way back into the spring when, you know, a lot of beaches were closed. We could still go to and access that beach. And I am glad we have the porta potties there. I mean, you know, I, for one, can tell you there have been times I have been extremely glad there was some place, you know, to use a restroom. And I applaud, you know, John and his crew for being able to take care of things down there. I know that puts a burden on staff at times, but again, this is a unique situation that we have here to have that beach property. Today I was down there in the morning, and you know, a couple of my friends that fish were there, but it was nice to see a family of about 8 or 10 people come out. They threw a few lines in the water, they grabbed their football, they started throwing their football. You know, this brings family together. When we have out-of-town guests, mainly family, but I know this to be true of a lot of people, when they have friends even that come in and either they're renting a place or they're just staying a few days, you know where they want to go? They want to go to the beach. That's where they want to go. And can you imagine the pride that we will have to be able to take them to a beach with, a facility that they can use, a restroom facility that they can use without it being a porta potty? I just think that's another way that we build more pride in what we're doing. And I guess finally, I'd just like to say that, you know, the beach is for everyone. I know it takes skills to play golf, especially the way you play it, Mike. And I know it takes skill to play some of the other activities that are going on, the pickleball and well, you know all the activities. The list is endless. But, you know, it doesn't take skill to go to the beach. You know, it takes a ride, and the enjoyment there is immense. It will be even more enjoyable to have a nice facility to go in that we can lay claim to and be proud of. So I hope that you will decide to move forward with this project. I know they've thrown a roadblock up with the new regulations that came about in 2018, but an investment in our beach would be a wise investment, and I encourage you to move that direction. Again, thank you for serving. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. And again, we love the Bay, and we're supporters of you. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Was that your first time you addressed the board? Excuse me, was that the first time you addressed the board? Feel lucky we let you go like 6 minutes, so we didn't cut you off. We knew we didn't have a lot of audience participation, but I will remind people, the board agenda under public comment under audience participation is generally limited to 3 minutes each person, but did a good job. Thank you. Yes.
Elaine Vambershot, 1090 Parkway Lane. I want to say thank you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. We've been coming down here since 1979, and we have 6 kids, and now they all have their kids, and we use that beach. And it's been many a time before the porta potties that it was the bushes for the kids. So it was the geckos, the snakes, and everything else that came along with it. But they love that beach, and then their cousins are down here, and they go down to that beach. I just look at Barefoot Bay, and we all have homes. Some of us new, some of us older. We take pride in our home. We upgrade our homes. We do it all the time. The homes around the beach property, they're building more and more, and they're upgrading those homes. Why wouldn't we upgrade our beach? It is an amenity that no one else has, and I agree with you. People come down here and they see what we have and are stunned, but they go to that beach and say, "This is yours? Why don't you have a bathroom?" It's a wonderful addition. It's an upgrade. It's something we should be proud of.
Thank you, Elaine.
One more thing. As president of the CVO, we had a luau planned with Cindy Johnson and Diane Ricard were planning it and working with us. And that was, the community was very excited about it. And it was going to be in February. Now, COVID has gotten us a little shook up with that, but the essence of having a beach party for the bay, there's a real problem if you don't have a bathroom. But how fun. They were going to have hula dancers, everything. But the problem is we don't have a bathroom. So I'm going to throw that in there too. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Rick Milkey. I live at 812 Sappadilla, and I want to make really clear to the board why
Can I, excuse me, yeah, pull it up, there you go.
why I live here in Barefoot Bay. I live here in Barefoot Bay because of that beach. I came down here RVing a few years, had friends that lived over here. They took me to the beach. It's a safe place to go. I can fish there without having to worry about being on the government docks where people are cutting your lines and people are pulling in front of you. But before we do anything with any type of building at all, I mean, those bathrooms are clean, they empty them. I'm happy with them. I understand that everybody with family would like to see more, but how much bigger would the building be? Would it have 6 urinals and 3 places to sit down, or would it be much more than what we have? And if I'm a little nervous and I'm shaking, this is because I was going to go to the fish. I was going to go fishing this morning. There's a problem at our beach. No one wants to talk about. We've got people that don't live in our community that go there. We got Barefoot Bob and Gatekeeper Bill and Pompano Rich, and we got all these other guys that live there. But now we've got some other people coming there. And I'm sure one of my neighbors are going to talk about this. I didn't go to the beach today because I was scared. My wife didn't want me to go to the beach. We've got people there that are coming up to me and taking my picture and asking me, where do you live? There's no security there. Before we build a building that's going to just increase the likelihood of more people coming in and use it that don't live there, I'm not asking for a gate to be there like at the pool. I don't go to the pools. I don't golf. I came here because of this beach. That's my number one thing. And if the beach goes away, I'm going to be disappointed. What we need is just a spot check over there once in a while. And people need to be asked for their badge. I carry mine. I don't have to be worried about going to the fishing. The beach is where I go to relax. After an episode the other day, and I'm still shaking, I don't think I can do that no more. I didn't go today because I'm scared of people that are bigger than me, that are bullies, and they're coming up to me and saying, we want your picture, we want to see your card. I love Barefoot Bay. I don't use all the amenities like I said before. My wife goes to the beach. I just love this area. But before we go spending $150,000 and more, let's get somebody over there that at least we know if we spend that money, it's the people in Barefoot Bay that are paying their association fees, that are using it, and not people with keys. One of the guys that verbally assaulted one of my neighbors told David, I stayed back. He said, I've been coming here for 5 years without a key, and there's nothing you're going to do about it. And that's what's happening over there. That's what's hurting my feelings. I came here, I bought a house, I pay my fees, I'm trying to be upstanding. Anybody comes by and said I've got mold on my house or anything like that, I do whatever you guys tell me to do. But look at me. I'm scared to go to the beach that I bought here. And that's what I'm telling you. We need somebody over there to check randomly. Don't need anybody there every day. But I don't have to be scared to go to something I paid to enjoy.
Thank you. Other participation?
Good evening, Board.
Could you pull the
My name
mask
is
off so we
David
can hear?
Atwell.
Could you pull it?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it possible?
My name is
Thank you.
David Atwell, and I live at 836 Sappadilla Drive. I want to commend Kevin, for his comments. I fully agree with him. The only thing that I would say is that, as my neighbor said, the bathrooms are fine. I don't have a problem with that. There's a way to take a shower if you want to. The problem is the security that we have there. Now, I talked to a sheriff yesterday. I was the one that was verbally assaulted on the beach. and I talked to the sheriff, and he said that there is such a thing as a memorandum of understanding that the trustees could get with to have the sheriff spot check the beach down there and confiscate the keys. So it might be something, if you haven't already done it, something to think about. And additionally, one other question that I'd like to know is how much money is the Bay making from the user fees or the guest pass fees just for the beach side? That's fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other public comment? Sure, go ahead.
Well,
Hi.
I've been here 5 times. Roberta Kessler, 827 Thrush Circle in Barefoot Bay. I've been on this podium 5 times looking to see if we could have a bathroom at the beach. Well, unfortunately, every time I've been here, my parents bought here in 78. I'm still here because I live here now, and they're both dead. But I'm still asking for a bathroom at the beach because I love the beach. The beach is really nice, and whatever it costs to put a bathroom, I'm still asking for a bathroom at the beach. That's it.
Thank you. Any other audience participation, please? That's it? Okay, audience participation is closed. Thank you, Roberta. I told you we are going to get you a restroom, but we just can't put it in. That's all. A couple of things should be understood. Not to answer questions, but make sure everyone understands that we have already purchased our restroom. We already have it. The problem is, can we install it because of the additional cost of putting in the 40-foot pilings and whether or not we can get a variance on that. So we already have the best beach restroom. It's a prefabricated, supposedly very large. It's going to be very nice. It isn't whether or not we're going to put one in, it's whether we can put the one in that we already purchased. So with that, I have a number of questions that I will have, but I will save them to the end. I have also comments from residents that I've talked to, but we will now open this up to the board and discussion. John, is that the way you want to go? Just open full discussion? Full discussion. You see the options before you. You've heard input. I'm sure you talked to residents. Please. Anyone? Yes, Mr. Gruno.
I was on the bid opening committee for the restrooms. They are very nice. They are precast concrete, and there's a men's room with a urinal and a toilet, and then there's a women's room with just a toilet. The thing that strikes me as odd is we're talking precast concrete. I can't imagine a hurricane blowing that thing around over there. I can't imagine water coming in and moving it. So I'm having troubles understanding why we would have to put pilings under it. And I think if we made those arguments, maybe we should go the variance route. I agree with the folks that talked. It's a beautiful beach over there, but the restrooms would be a great accomplishment.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Morrissey.
Yeah. If I can get this thing working. Is it working? Okay. I agree with the people that are interested in have and use the beach. Okay, I'm from Rockaway Beach, Long Island, and I lived on the beach practically all my life. On the question, I was also impressed by the amenities.
Move back just a touch.
The amenities that were available when I came to accidentally find Barefoot Bay. I drove along Merrick, I call it Merrick Road, it's US 1A, for a ride on a Sunday with my wife, because we decided we were going to move, and looking at manufactured homes, because we're empty nesters now, okay? So we just drove by, and it says Barefoot Bay. I said, well, let's take a ride in there, you know. And I went to the real estate in there, and he showed me around in the pool and this, that, and the other thing. He said, you have a beach also. I said, you have a beach? I said, yeah, okay. So I went down and saw the beach. There was nothing there. There was a lock on the gate. I was able to get in there anyway. Could walk right around the gate, you know. And I was very impressed with that, okay. What I don't understand that, now I came here in about 4.5 years ago, 4 years ago, and at that time, the same issue was here, about the beach, and bathrooms. At that time, there was no porta potty. Okay. I can't see. I'd like to see the bathroom, at the beach. What I don't understand is all these years of putting it off and putting it in the back burner and adding more cost. You could have put it in there without the $90,000, $100,000 it would cost you today if you did it years ago. What happens now if this happens to be pushed away or pushed aside and not be completed? It's going to cost you 2 or 3 times more. How long? It's just like saying, well, you're not going to get it. The people are interested in the beach, to me anyway. I don't see it coming. Okay. But what I'd like to see the management, Mr. Coffey, to ask for a waiver. Okay. I think under the circumstances, we started the project 3 years ago, and 18 is, and now it's 3 years ago. I guess it's 21, but still, had they had anything in mind, somebody doing something like this, did the Bay ever contact them? I don't know, but I would like to see the management here see if they can have a waiver, okay? And I wouldn't like to see it being brought back without one. I would think if you didn't have the waiver, to go ahead with it anyway and get it completed. It's been a long time. A lot of people like it. It's one of the amenities that draws a lot of people, like it was said. Okay? I think it'll be very beneficial in the future. And it'll be saving a hell of a lot of money if you wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, Randy?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead, Jim.
Question for John. If the variance is not approved,
No, he's on.
if the variance is not approved, we cannot go forward with the restrooms, correct?
You'd have to put the pilings.
You'd have to put the pilings in, yeah.
If the variance is denied, the only way of putting a building over there is with the pilings.
All right, I certainly would agree with improvement upon our amenities. And clearly, I think we need an improved restroom environment at the beach. But I think we should initially request the variance, see what the county will either accept it or deny it, and then from there, we should make a decision whether or not we're going to spend the $80,000 for the pilings to go forward. Because what is the cost of the septic system?
What is the cost of what?
The septic system.
We believe it's going to be in the $20,000, $30,000 range. Part of the uniqueness of that project is the location. It's not like in Palm Bay where every house has a septic tank and they don't travel very far. But, Mr. Chairman, at some point, I think we may ask Mr. Repperger to describe the variance process so the community and the board understands what we're getting into, because he has handled some before, and that's one of the reasons I asked him to attend today's meeting.
Before you do, though, before you do, Cliff, please, and we do want to get there, but there are some other things, there are some things we may want to make clear to everyone. And one of them is cost, and while the question was asked about the cost, I think it's needed to make sure people understand that a couple of things happening. One, we have purchased a building, $82,000, $83,000, whatever it is. Number two, there are going to be other costs associated with putting the building in. That's just not the total cost of the project. And on top of that, and we already knew that, on top of that, we're then talking about another $80,000 to $100,000 for putting the pilings in. So roughly, we're talking 200 and how much money do you think put the whole project, if we had to put pilings?
We're probably in the 225, 250
225
range.
to 230, something like that. So people have to understand that we knew some of this already going in, and the board had approved it and had decided to do it. The big issue, of course, is now the pilings, and if we don't do it, what do we do with the building? because we already own the building. So Cliff, go ahead and talk about a variance if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just looking at, based on what my conversations have been with Mr. Coffey, understanding the history of the project and how you've gotten to this place and the requirements for the pilings, I typically don't make recommendations on administrative type matters, but I would certainly recommend that you pursue the variance process in this matter. There are two types of variances in Brevard County, and some of you may know that I used to be an assistant county attorney, and I sat with the Board of Adjustment for years handling variances. I think this variance, although I haven't had a discussion with John on the technical side of where the requirement comes from, I think it's a change in the building code requirements where it comes from, and or related to the coastal construction line. And I believe if it comes out of the building code, it's a variance that, there's two types of variances in Brevard County. One is a zoning code variance, and the other is a building code variance. If this is a building code variance, it falls, it's a construction board of adjustment issue, which goes to the contractor licensing board. And in those cases, you have to make an initial showing that enforcing the restriction would do manifest injustice or be contrary to the spirit and the purpose of the technical code, or against the public interest. And in this case, I think you've got a heck of an argument to make that given the cost related to the cost of the actual structure, the pilings, and to the overall project, I think the cost is really out of line with the scope of the whole project, and I think it's contrary to the public interest, because if it prohibits you from being able to put these restrooms in, and remember, there's a number of different purposes that you're putting the restrooms in, one of which being to improve your ADA compliance out there, I believe that you've got a really good argument as far as public interest goes. Now, there are some other showings that you have to make under the code, but I think those showings would be easier to make in front of the contractor licensing board than they would be in front of the Board of Adjustment if it's a building code required variance, which I think that it is. So in either case, the costs of pursuing this variance are going to be de minimis in relationship to the cost that you'd spend to put in the pilings. So I don't know what your application cost fees would be, somewhere in the hundreds of dollars, and then whatever cost it is to pursue the application and go to the hearing, but that's going to be really insignificant in terms of the overall cost related to the pilings. So I would recommend that you absolutely pursue the variance in this case.
Thank you, Cliff. Yeah, and I think, I don't want to speak for the board, but I think it's a given that we're going to ask for a variance. I mean, I would hope we're going to do that. That's just common sense to do that. I think as we go forward, though, the question is, if we do not get the variance, that's where all of these other options come in. What are we going to do? And again, this project has been, and Randy, Mr. Loveland, I didn't mean to jump in your spot, but this project has been on the agenda for a long time now, and I don't think, I would not look to postpone this longer than it is tonight, that we make some kind of decision tonight as to, sure, we're going to ask for a variance, and if they give it to us, that's fine. What if they don't? So, Mr. Loveland, go ahead, please.
Well, I think that we need to look at this project like taking a road trip. We're 3/4 of the way there. I mean, we don't go 3/4 of the way to Disney and then go, oh, let's go home. I've changed my mind. And that really is just where we are. I think we're a little unclear on, we have a rough dollar amount of $80,000 for the pilings, but we really don't know that that's what they're going to be. Is that correct, John?
Yeah, the estimate for the size of the pilings, that my concern is the location.
Yeah.
And the crane's going to show up, pop the 4 or 6 pilings, and then turn around and drive away. The term mobilization cost is probably significant compared to the actual work involved in that.
Yeah. And I think that will have some impact on us. We've already carved out $135,000 within the budget for this project. We had carved out 95 just for the building, and we came in under that, so we're looking good on that. I think we're looking good at the 135, even with the septic system. So on a budget-wise, we're actually good for this project. And the project was a budgeted project, so it's not like it's a pie-in-the-sky thing. And I do think that we do need to go forward with it. I think Cliff kind of gave us a little bit of a positive hope there in getting these variances based on the fact that the pilings would cost us almost as much as the entire project. And I don't think the county would look at that as being a fair exchange. So I agree. I think that we should go for the variance, but I also think that we should be prepared to take on that piling cost and move forward with the restrooms. Now, having said that, I think that the beach overall, we've got three issues going on over there, and we've got three of them that are projected that we'll probably talk about in our next meeting. One is the gate cards, which would add to security, and the other one is a pavilion. So we do have some dollars kind of focused out there, I think in the 2021 budget. John, is that correct? For the gate cards of, I think, 31,000 and maybe in the pavilion of.
Yeah, funding for the access cards.
We have no
was-
funding, but we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's listed.
yeah.
That's not a funded project, though, is it?
It's
No,
not yet.
No.
But I do think that we need to save ourselves a little bit of headache going forward, is kind of look at this beach project as one whole project and just go, this is what we're going to have to invest this year in this beach to make it right.
Thank you, Mr. Loveland. Any other comments before I make a couple comments? Yes, Mr. Bruno.
Yeah, I think Cliff's given us some good advice. I think if you were going to build a building out there like a tough shed or a stick building, I understand why the county wants pilings, because it'll be gone. But we're talking about something that weighs tons. It's precast concrete. So I think if we made a good case, I think we could probably prevail on that. And I agree with Randy. I think we need to move forward with this.
Thank you. A couple of things, again. So what we're trying to decide, I guess, the initial question, and we've discussed it, is the project worth the total cost of what it is going to be in the end to us? As I've talked to a number of residents and a number of my friends who go to the beach, as the gentleman indicated, to some people, that's the number one amenity we have here. I don't see it that way, but my wife probably does. But on the other hand, my wife doesn't want to go there because we don't have proper restrooms. She would much rather go to the other beaches that are closer or whatever because they have it. When I brought this up to a number of people and I said, there's such a small number, and again, this is not an arguable point, but I said, there's such a small number of people who actually use our beach. And the immediate answer to me was, well, there would be a lot more who would use the beach if, in fact, we had the proper restrooms and facilities over there. And I understand that. So again, I think that as you look at the options up on the top, we're talking about putting this building over by the pickleball courts. We're talking about putting it over by the shopping center. We're talking about putting it on the golf course and taking that building down. I'm not sure what else we were talking about. I really don't think that anyone on the board has brought it up saying any of those options are good, correct? You're not looking at any of those options. Okay, with that in mind, if there's no further discussion on this, Cliff, we can make this is a special meeting of the BOT, correct? It's an agenda item?
We're in a workshop, so I don't think we can take official action.
We can't?
But I think you can indicate by consensus if the board is in favor of moving forward with a particular option, we'll know what to do. And then if
Okay.
we want to come back and
I thought that
ratify that later, we can do that.
I thought that because the entire board was present, that it's proper to make a motion. Is that not right?
Technically, being in a workshop, we haven't technically done that, and I
That's fine. Okay.
forget what the rules
Remember, every meeting,
our
I
board rules
change
would-
things every
would
meeting,
cover.
remember, so.
But I mean,
That's
if you indicate what you want to do, whether, I would do it by consensus for
Okay.
now, and then if we want to.
Well, what I would like to
confirm
see
that, we
happen,
can.
if possible, is I would like to have someone not make a motion, but a suggestion to the board, and to see if we have consensus on it, that, number one, we go for the variance. We ask our administration and our legal team to go for the variance. And if the variance is not, if we are not given the variance, that we then proceed with the project as stated, including the additional pilings. Does that make sense? I mean, the variance has got to be a given. Of course, we have to ask for that. But I think we have to decide tonight that if that is not, if we do not get the variance, then our consensus would be to go on with the project.
Mr. Chairman, could we add getting a firm cost of the pilings so that when we do get the variance, we're not 2 months behind getting a bid? Explore the
behind?
two of them together. Explore, get the variance, at the same time, get a firm price on pilings.
Can we do that? Do you think that's possible?
We'd have to bid it out.
Yeah, we'd have to
And,
bid, sure. I guess that the important thing is that we've delayed this not delayed it, it's been so long, as Roberta said, and so many years people have been wanting this to happen. I just can't see delaying it too much more. I'm very comfortable with giving direction to our administrative staff and to our legal team to say, go and look for the variance. If it's given to us, fine. If it's not, we proceed as is, and let's bid the project out and go ahead. Go ahead.
The cost of the pilings is going to be well above 7,500, so it would come back to you before it happened. And that would be the next step. So I'm sure we could have a short discussion item if the variance request went poorly or something. But yeah, we wouldn't be just doing something for 100,000 without getting y'all's approval ahead of time.
No, I was just thinking about, look how the vaccine was done. The vaccine, we started making the vaccine while we were developing it. So can we maybe speed this project up a little bit by getting the legwork done on the pilings, assuming we'll be successful in the variance?
And I would agree with that we would, and I guess that's the point, I guess we would rephrase it to say we go ahead and look for the variance, and whether we get it or not, we go ahead and ask for bids on the piling. Opposition, agreement, consensus, Mr. Loveland?
I'm very much in agreement with that. Just for the record, from the 2016 census and survey done with 2,800 homeowners, the beach was the third most used amenity over the golf course.
Okay, yeah.
One potential problem with trying to seek bids is we have the permit, part of the design, the site plan was doing the paperwork for applying for the site plan amendment for the building. We may run into some difficulty getting bids for a piling job that we don't have an approved site plan for. You know, part of the other thing historically we've run into is when we bid something out and then for whatever reason it's several months later, that sometimes has not played out well for us, that like Hugh Roofing refused to come back and do the work after we got a contract ready for them that they had said they wanted to do. They just ghosted us and never came back. And so I would be slightly concerned of doing an RFP with no firm commitment of when we could have them do the work.
Well, I guess I don't quite understand. So, I'm not a contractor. I thought we already have a site plan.
We have the general site plan. It's approved. It doesn't have the building specifics on it. We have the paperwork ready to submit to the county for an amendment to the site plan with the building and the the septic system location. That's probably going to sail through relatively, without much problem. But my concern is if we do an RFP or if we just ask Mr. Getz to find bids, usually folks ask us how quickly we want this work to get done. And then we start sounding like a Saturday morning cartoon when we have to start going, we don't know. And so, we can do that. I'm just want to caution y'all, we may run into some issues with folks taking us seriously.
Okay, and I guess it's just a matter of semantics or words, I guess. What are you looking for? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the board to say, number one, we're going to ask for a variance. Number two, come hell or high water, we're going to go ahead with the project. That's all I'm trying to get the direction to you.
I think we get the variance, and then we can simultaneously start the site plan process. We can solicit quotes or bids for the septic system. We can solicit bids for the pilings. We can either demo the building ourselves or have that part of one of those two processes. But for right now, we have a building sited where the pilings are supposed to go.
All right. As a side issue, how much larger is the building than what we currently have there? I mean, is it a lot bigger?
The building is a three-door building. Each side is ADA accessible, meaning you've got a 48-inch circle turn in the center. There's a center that has a door on the back that's for access to the utilities and stuff. So it is larger than our building, but it's not a multi-purpose building. There's something that sounds slightly odd, but it's called potty parity, that everybody tries to achieve of the same number of flushable units on each side. The one that we have bought has one on each side. It's a basic unit. It's larger than what we have, but I wouldn't say it's like 3 times the size. The changing room that we have now, because they're historically, Ms. Kessler will remember there was a gentleman who wanted to make that into a unisex restroom. That changing room isn't wide enough to meet ADA compliance. You have to have enough room for a person in a wheelchair to be able to turn around. And so each side of it would be larger than the changing room currently over there.
Okay. Other discussion, comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, it seems like we're in the middle here, what we want to do. I think maybe we should take one step at a time. Agreement on the waiver, and then discuss the other part of it, I guess.
Well, I guess that's the first thing we will do is we give direction to the administration and legal to seek the waiver. But I guess again, I do want everyone to know that I think Randy's point about being 2/3 of the way there or 3/4 of the way there, I don't think we're going to stop it now no matter what. So I guess the consensus of the board is to go ahead, seek the waiver, and let's go from there. Yes?
One of the reasons I asked to be on the board to fill out Roger's slot was I've been here in the Bay 3.5 years, and there seems to be a propensity that one board decides to do something, next board comes in, then changes their mind, next board comes in, changes their mind. One of the things that I want to commit to is the previous board, the one that you were on, and the one that Randy was on, committed to this project. All right, we're halfway to Disney World. We're 2/3 of the way to Disney World. Let's keep going.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just have one question, that is for council. How long usually does a variance take?
Depends on when you apply and when the hearings are. There's one meeting a month. So generally, it's the month after the application. So I would suspect that if we apply between now and the middle of February, we're probably going to be on the March Contractor Licensing Board agenda. So that's mid-March. That could be a faster time frame depending on what board it is, and so, but generally you're a month out from when you apply.
Okay, I just want people to understand that this is something that's not going to happen overnight.
So,
I'm sorry.
Cliff, could you get us on the February?
I'm going to be confirming with staff and the county as far as what board we're supposed to be in front of, and I can assure you that whatever that board will be, we will be on the quickest agenda we can be on in front of it.
Any other comments? Again, incidental trustee comments, remarks, anything, we're done? If so, I would look for a motion or we can't make motions. I would
No,
ask
but how about a recommendation?
recommendation that we adjourn the meeting.
You can move to adjourn. You can move to adjourn.
Someone move to adjourn, please. Mr. Loveland moves we adjourn.
They do it, I agree.
We may not be big.
That's a great consensus. Every board comes in and they all have a new idea.